and a motherfucking 3. Damn, 54 minutes. Holy shit. The fuck? Alright. I didn't expect it to be fucking that fucking long, bro. Like, goddamn. But, alright. Shit. Well, get your fucking popcorn out, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna get through this bitch.
Here, and today I have a brand new guest on the channel.
What's going on, guys? TG or Thunder God here. Thank you for having me on the channel. I'm a little nervous, but it's alright.
TG! Hey, the two goats, baby. Let's get it.
No need to worry.
I forgot he was in this shit.
This guy, for those of you who don't know him, makes really good Naruto videos. A lot of them are hypothetical situations, like the one in this video, actually, that I find to be particularly interesting. There's a friend of his, New Horizons, who actually... like, they made pretty similar video. It was, like, asking the same question, right? How each of the Hokage would do in Minato's position against Obito. So that's where the idea for this came from. But we're going to try to change it up a little bit just to make it so that, you know, like, it's not the same video twice back to back. We'll have a couple bonus characters featured in here, but we'll start by focusing on the actual Hokage. But first, it's sponsor time, and this video is brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends, the best video game ever made, ever. Do you think
Tobirama can win against Obito? No, I do not. Reason why is I think, like, basically the way it is, he can deal with the Nine Tails. I'll give him that. Because I'm not gonna be a fucking weirdo and be like, oh, he lost to Kin again. You know, therefore, if he can't even barely deal with that Nine Tails power, he's try whatever. I'm not going to do that. Like, at the end of the day, like, Tobirama's not going to have anything to be able to hurt the Nine Tails or even suppress it, but what he can do bare minimum is teleport it away and, like, you know what I mean, and get it away from the fucking village. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. If it shoots a tail beast bomb, I don't know if he's going to be able to stop that. I really don't. I don't know. You know what I mean? Because when he did the thing with Jubito, for one, like, that was on Minato. Like, it was like a little sticky bomb, you know what I mean? It's not traveling. It doesn't have a crazy amount of force or anything like that, you know? And he was able to teleport that away with a shadow clone. Like, maybe if he uses, like, a shadow clone and, like, sends it and it touches the fucking tail beast bomb and he can teleport away like that, sure, you know? Or the tail beast bomb is just going to fucking go right through him and kill his shadow clone. Or if he tries to do it, he's probably also going to die as well. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. But then again... you know, we don't know, but if Kishimoto was kind of writing it in a way, I do think he should be able to deal with the tail beast bomb and the Nine Tails. I do think that. Because Minato, what he did to the 10 Tails Biju bomb, he just came up, touched it, and teleported fucking away. So I'm assuming Tobirama could do the same thing. Even though he doesn't have the barrier shit that Minato has, that's way more convenient, he should at least be able to do what Minato did in the War Arc, where Minato literally just touched it and then teleported away, you know? So... at least I'm pretty sure that's what happened to work. But either way, like, however you think how that goes, it's either he dies straight up by a Biju bomb and the village gets fucked up too, or if you think he can at least deal with those two things, that's fine, and I'll give him that. But when it comes to combating against Obito, I do think he gets slammed. I don't think he's going to be able to beat Obito. Personally, I really don't think so. It's, like, based upon everything we know, he just gets Speed Blitz and Calm Weed, or if we're being generous, let's say it's like a written story from Kishimoto. Maybe there's like some relativity or whatever, but Obito is just way more faster and he beats him. You know what I mean? Or who knows? You know? So that's kind of how I think it would go. I don't think Tobirama will be able to do it, though. I really don't. That's just me personally. So.
Fun, this game's for you. But even if you think you like fun, I'll just say this game might have a little bit too much fun for you. So just, you know, prepare yourself. The game's pretty easy to pick up and play, but it can be as hard as you want it to be. You thought Elden Ring was hard?
Bro.
Well, wait and what about the night? About it.
Fuck me. Fuck me. Baby.
Rematerial or something. And one thing that I would like to remind everybody about while we're talking about Hashirama is that it's not just that Hashirama was straight up more powerful than the Nine Tails, right? I mean, it definitely, like, you can...
I'm going to say this right now, Hashirama would slam. He's slamming the Nine Tails, he's slamming Obito. I don't give a fuck.
argue that, sure, because he
No
was
explanation
fighting Madara
needed.
and the Nine Tails together at the same time, right? But the main thing was that Hashirama has the Tailed Beast suppression ability with Wood Style. That's why Yamato was assigned to take care of Naruto and had the seal on his hand to monitor how many tails Naruto was sprouting, because Yamato was the only person who could just naturally suppress the Nine Tails chakra. So as soon as his Wood Golem made contact with the Nine Tails, that was it. It was over, right? So the Nine Tails is going to be a complete non-factor in this fight. Hashirama makes the Wood Golem taps him on the head, and he just like picks him up and chucks him out of the village or something. I don't know. With Obito, I think that, like TG said, Hashirama will probably be able to outlast the 5-minute timer. The only thing that you could argue for Obito, where like maybe this wouldn't be an issue, is
I'll say this: if Obito does not have that shit already on, he's getting speed blitz. I don't give a fuck. But if he does have it on, 5-minute timer, and as long as Hashirama can deduce and keep constant pressure like Konan did with his wood style and shit, GG. Or he could use like his poison gas vapor, and I'm gonna be honest with you, at that point, Obito's forced to use that shit. You know what I mean? Like, he would have to like go underground and leave or whatever, you know what I mean? And basically, if you argue in favor for Obito like to be able to like reactivate it somehow, you know what I mean, and then do it again where he has another 5-minute timer, that's like the best argument you could really have for him. At the end of the day, it boils down who's going to outlast who, and I'm telling you right now, I just don't see that Obito outlasting someone like Hashirama that can fight for an entire fucking day, you know? While Obito is already gassed out and very fatigued, having a full-on death match with Minato and controlling the Nine Tails, etc. You know, like, I don't know. I don't really see, like, Obito got good stamina and everything in chakra, you know, and he has Hashirama cells, but it's Hashirama, bro. Like, if it really comes down to who's outlasting who, come on. You know what I mean? So no matter what, Hashirama just takes it. But and then not only that, Obito, this is not in character how he fights. He's not going to utilize a fucking 5-minute timer and just try to hope to God something works. Like, that's just not how that goes. You know, that he's not like that. He wants to get the job done, charge you, fight you, combo you. That's it. You know what I mean? And so, like, he'll probably strategize a little bit, but the moment he knows it's just a losing battle, he'll just leave. You know what I mean? He's not going to continue the fight. Or Obito just gets pressured so much to where he can't leave and he gets killed, you know? But then again, you could easily argue, like, all he has to really do is, like, phase and go underground like he normally does and just disappear. That's it. And gone. Leave the fight, you know? So, like, it's really interesting, but no matter what, like, Obito could survive and he could survive, but he's not beating Hashirama. He's not.
I've seen some people say this, and I think that it's possible that Kamui works this way. Maybe the 5-minute timer isn't like... So if he ever materializes at all, it resets
That's
the
my
timer. I'm pretty sure...
Yeah.
I think it works that way, and he could probably, like, safely, if he's, like, measured and intelligent about it, rematerialize while he's far away from Hashirama, or he could try and teleport away. Granted, he has to materialize to teleport, so that wouldn't be super safe either. But, you know, like, as long as he can put a decent chunk of distance between himself and Hashirama, he can reset the timer and get 5 more minutes to fight him. But it's going to be really, really difficult for him because Hashirama's super fast. With Sage Mode, he might be able to sense when Obito, like when he's physically present and not in Kamui. So, like, I don't see more win cons for Obito than I do for Hashirama. He just has to get really lucky with Kamui, and like, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, it's pretty clear cut. He's impersonating the guy who Hashirama quite literally beat. It's just, you know.
I was gonna say that too, actually. One thing that's funny is Hashirama would be like, Madara? No, what happened? When did he get the ability to phase through stuff and whatnot? Where's his Susanoo? I don't know if he'd be able to save Mito from dying or anything, because, like, Minato couldn't save Kushina from dying. Like, if this was Mito still in Kushina's place, of course, anyway.
Yeah.
I would say probably not. She would probably
This part's not relevant. Hang on.
die from, you know, the extraction the same way Kushina was going to. If you want to say that, like, maybe Mito's giving birth and Obito shows up there before the Nine Tails even appears, I think Hashirama might actually just beat Obito like before Mito gets captured, maybe, but it would be pretty hard, especially because like Hashirama's not just going to be in Sage mode as, you know, like in that situation. So it probably would unfold the same way that things unfolded for Minato, where, you know, he had to like teleport back and forth, save Naruto, all that, and then he's like staring down the Nine Tails on top of the Hokage faces. That's how I think it would go. Regardless, though, I think the bottom line is just that Obito loses to Hashirama.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool. You have anything to add, or do you want to move on to what was probably the most controversial character in the video?
Lately, one way I've been able to help keep my mental health.
If they say controversial, let's be real. We know damn well it's Tobirama. We know damn well it's Tobirama.
After graduating college.
Next up, we have Tobirama. Now, you know, we kind of debated on like Alive versus Edo. We could talk about both for a second, but it doesn't really change too much in this option. Now, a lot of people, you know, downplay Tobirama's strength. He actually is very strong. He's competing with Minato in the War Arc, competing with the MSAs, competing with Naruto. He's able to perform strategies with them. He's never getting outclassed. He shows great feats against Jubito, all of that. This is one of those situations to where, like, I just don't believe Tobirama's arsenal is suited for this particular task. And here's what I mean, right? Starting off, let's say we argue he's on top of the Hokage mountain. He doesn't have any way to really like teleport a tail beast bomb away from the village if the Nine Tails starts to fight like that. Like his flying Raijin has never shown, like he can like kind of replicate some of the stuff Minato does by manually marking it. But it's not like he has those like wide scale barriers, like, or he's showing the ability. You could infer that if you want. It's just never shown. In which case, like, you kind of have him not being able to fulfill the objective of being able to protect the leap from the Nine Tails, right? But let's say, you know, for whatever reason, like maybe his water style is like that strong, which it isn't. Never say that. And he does like kind of deter the Nine Tails for a little bit. The problem is too is that he's not really equipped to like mess with Obito's BFR or like Obito like grabbing him with Kamui. And the reason I say this is because Obito has to manually mark.
So I'll interject there. If Obito did grab Tobirama and he starts calming him like he did to Minato, if Minato can fly an Raijin out of that, I don't see why Tobirama couldn't either. And not only that, if I'm at the end of the day, you guys know me. I'm real quick to shit on Tobirama, blah, blah, the whole nine, right? But I'll be real quick to give him the benefit of the doubt or to stick up for the guy. No matter what, Tobirama's best feat is reacting to Madara. He reacted to Madara with his flying Raijin. Not with his body and all that, but his neural transmission, like his nerve, you know what I mean? Just thinking in his brain and everything, he was able to activate fine Raijin jutsu activation speed. So jutsu activation speed, bare minimum, scales to a live Madara, okay? And I believe that Madara had a Rinnegan as well. I don't remember, but either way, what's it called? That Madara was alive. He had Sage Mode as well. And Tobirama was able to use Flying Raijin to survive. He still gets no diffed and beat up, but he was able to react to Madara out of all people. And if he can react to Madara, he could definitely react to Obito's Kamui. He could definitely react to the Nine Tails, etc. You know what I mean? So that's going to be Tobirama's get out of fucking jail free card the entire fucking fight is Flying Raijin. But there's only so many amount of times he can spam it, and there's only so many amount of times he's going to be able to utilize it to survive, basically, you know? So it is what it is. Eventually it's going to come to a point where he has to engage in the fight with Obito, and if he tries that, he will lose, because when it comes to his combat speed and reaction, all that shit, whatever you name it, we really just don't have any scaling for that, unfortunately. Everything is all hypothetical or, you know, ratty-ass, dishonest highballs or just possibility shit. You know what I mean? Like, we really don't know. We know, he, like, bare minimum, we know he can fuck up Madara's brother, and when he did Flying Raijin, like, we know, like, he immediately, like, pierced through and stabbed his ass. So, like, we know, like, bare minimum, like, his body speed and everything, you know, it has some form of relativity in a way to when he's at least attacking, or he was at least just tremendously way more faster, you know, than his opponent, the guy with the fucking Madara's brother, Uzuna, whatever the fuck his name is. So, overall, it's really interesting, but when it comes to his combat speed and reaction speed and all that shit, you know, it's really, really hard to know exactly where he's at. You know what I mean? Like, we just don't really know. He doesn't have a lot of scaling. All we know is he gets beat up by Kinnigan, okay, and then he beats Madara's brother. That's it. That's literally all we have. The only other thing people utilize is the Jubito fight, where they'll be like, oh, he has to be 6 pass level, because he somehow speed blitzed Jubito or whatever, all this bullshit, whatever, yada yada. It's a bunch of bullshit. Like it's contradicted by statements and narrative, etc. So like no matter what, when it comes down to it, like Tobirama's strong. He's Kage level for a reason, but we don't have a lot on him, so it's really hard to know what he can really do. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of what if type situations, and maybe he could do this or maybe he can't. We just don't fucking know, unfortunately. If I had to like say anything at all, if you are trying to highball him, then you can say maybe he's relative with his flying Raijin to where like at least, you know, he's obviously his body speed and his combat and all that is nowhere near as fast as flying Raijin. It's transcending space and fucking time itself, okay? But it's at least relative enough to where once he uses it, then he can respond accordingly and kill his opponent or whatever, right? Or fight. It's either that or if we're lowballing, he is fast, you know, with his combat, reaction speed, whatever, etc. But when it comes to right after he uses Flying Raijin, then he goes to attack his opponent. If the opponent is way more faster, it's going to be like Jubimata or the Minotaur all over again. You know what I mean? He'll just bitch him, you know? Or Tobirama would just get bitched, you know? Or Tobirama will have to do it in a way where it's like attacking a blind spot or like has just enough time interval to where he could successfully land the attack, you know? Especially if he's like attacking from behind or a blind spot or whatever, you know, kind of like what Minato did to Obito. So it's interesting. It's very, very interesting. But the way I see it, unfortunately, is Obito is just going to be more faster, much of a threat to where Tobirama is going to be having the flying Raijin all over the place. And when he tries to like engage with Obito would just be faster and he'll kill him or calm him. You know, that's what it is. Or it just comes down to who can outlast who. And Tobirama probably has a lot of good chakra and stamina, but once again, we don't really know a lot about him. You know, when it comes to that, even his limits, okay? So, like Hashirama, we know he can fight for a whole fucking day. Tobirama, we have no idea. We don't know. You know, so it's really, really hard. But Obito, we do know. He has Hashirama fucking cells. He has a lot of fucking chakra and stamina, and he can fight for a good while. You know what I mean? Like, he's up there. He's able to compete against the 4th Hokage and you name it. So, he has a lot of fucking chakra. You know, so it's, when it comes down like who will outlast who, more than likely probably Obito, you know what I mean? You're talking about a guy that can spam his Mangekyo and fucking, you know, control the Nine Tails and all this other shit, and has Hashirama cells. That's the big problem, you know? So when it really comes down to it, personally, I don't think Tobirama is going to he just can't be able to do it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. He'll lose, you know what I mean? It'll be like a low diff fight basically for Obito, but it'll be more like irritation than anything else. If you're being generous to Tobirama, then maybe you could say like mid or high diff L, you know, or whatever. But that's just kind of where I'm at with it. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But with this particular scene, what they're saying, if Obito did the same thing to Tobirama, he would definitely be able to flying Raijin out of it. I disagree with that.
Mark his kunai. We see this because the same mark that he places on Jubito is the same mark that's placed on the kunai. And to take it a step further, the mark that's on the kunai is always in a different location. So we do know he's manually marking it, which is impressive that he can replicate Minato. But Minato has marked kunai pre-packed, so you already have to argue like Tobirama manually marked the kunai in advance, and then that like as he's getting sucked into the Kamui dimension after Obito catches him, he like throws up the kunai, teleports up, and then comes right back down on some Madara stuff, which I don't think he'd be able to do, especially since Minato stabs through Obito with the Mark kunai, and Minato had to teleport to a kunai that was kind of far away from the village. So with these factors, it doesn't really seem likely that Tobirama can really deal with like Obito's BFR. If I took it a step further, right? If I took it a step further and was really generous to Tobirama, and let's say he goes into a 1v1 with Obito, maybe he does like the Bringer of Darkness from the anime canon and kind of throw Obito off his senses. The problem
no, I'm not giving him that, because that's anime only, and manga, it's Hashirama that does it. So no, only Hashirama can do that. Fuck that. But I'll say this, even though it's a blatant contradiction, what's it called? You can at least argue the possibility of Tobirama knowing that jutsu as well, because it is a counter tactic for Uchiha, and Tobirama, let's be real, we know how he is in character, except like I don't even have to speak upon that. And he literally developed the Flying Raijin, you know what I mean? Like all kinds of shit in water style to literally counter Uchihas, you know? Like, so it's I don't think it's definitely a far stretch to say he doesn't have that technique either. Like, if I had to sit down and say he does have the technique, sure, you know, I'll say probably, you know what I mean? If you say otherwise, you know, that's his argument of ignorance, you know? But at the end of the day, when it comes to like, saying that's why he can utilize it. No, because like unfortunately we have to take the manga at that moment. If it's a blatant contradiction, manga all day every day. That's the only time you can prioritize the manga.
Is that he has no way of separating the Ninetales from Obito like Minato does with the contract seal. The same contract seal that permanently severed the Ninetales from Obito to the point even in Shippuden, like he didn't make any jumps for it. It's heavily implied actually that he was never able to like go after the Ninetales because Minato had just permanently severed it. Tobirama has nothing in his arsenal to that. He has a lot of offensive jutsu like shadow clones, all his crazy water style, potential tandem paper bombs if he teleports out, but none of it is really like hacks enough to clear the objective or allows him to like deal with BFR properly. That's the real issue. It's not to say Tobirama's weak in any capacity because he's really strong. He chakra flexed EMS Sasuke, which if like you're just looking at that scene, like he made him scared, but he just doesn't have the proper equipment to defend the village from the Ninetales or really deal with Obito, or at the very like most charitable interpretation, separate the Ninetales. You want to add to this? I went out for a minute. My bad.
No, you're good. I think that you gave a pretty comprehensive answer to how Tobirama would perform here. I pretty much agree with everything you said. A lot of people will say that he'd be able to use Flying Raijin to do the same things that Minato was able to do, like teleport away from being sucked into Kamui, or teleport above Obito and hit him with an attack, but it's heavily implied that Tobirama thinks that Minato's reaction speed, body flicker, and ability to use Flying Raijin just surpasses his own. So that split-second opportunity that Minato created for himself to hit Obito with the Rasengan and then follow that up with the contract seal, I don't see that happening for Tobirama. I don't think he's quite fast enough to do something like that.
I agree.
Obito, right? Because, like, I mean, Kamui, like Obito, as soon as he activates it, right? Like, basically, as soon as he recognizes that he's about to take damage, Obito can activate.
Because one thing you guys have to realize, when it comes to Flying Raijin speed and then Minato and Tobirama's combat and reaction speed, or even travel, it's completely different. Flying Raijin is tremendously, like, way, like, it's instantaneous, okay? While with them, the moment they reappear, right, they now are using their own speed. You know what I mean? So when it comes to that, like, Minato, for the most part, 9 out of 10 times when he's going against all the people he's going against, he's just either slightly faster or he's way faster, okay? And we have all the evidence for that. Tobirama, we don't have fucking shit. The only opponent he was able to bitch was Madara's brother, you know what I mean? And basically be able to, like, just deal with him instantly, you know? Or basically pull a Minato feat. It's really what Tobirama did. He pulled a Minato feat and against Madara's brother. So it's like, it's really, really hard to know exactly how fast he is. We really just don't know, unfortunately. And we know it's just so many feats. When you use Flying Raijin, it's not that you're not as fast as Flying Raijin or whatever. You can maybe argue that maybe you have some form of relativity in a way, but even that is like, I don't fucking know about all that, because we see many examples. We see Minato with Madara. He Flying Raijin's instant. The moment he's there and he tries to tag him, Madara just bitches him. You know what I mean? We've seen that with many other fucking people. We've literally even seen it with Tobirama against Madara. He Flying Raijins, that can allow him to dodge attacks or try to have an opening. But the moment he tries to land a blow with his combat speed, he gets bitched. So no matter what, their combat and reaction speed is not the same as Flying Raijin. If it was, they would be able to speed blitz Jubi Madara. They'd be able to speed blitz Alive Madara, etc., etc., So you have to be fast enough with your combat and reaction speed in order to make use of Flying Raijin. And if you're not, you're fucked. With Tobirama, we just unfortunately, we don't have enough to know if he could be able to do that, and it's to the contrary. You know what I mean? He has anti-feats as Ken again. What's it called? He's over here, fucking struggling with people on that caliber and power level. Constant inferiority statements of him talking about himself to fucking Minato. Regardless if you think his body flicker or Flying Raijin, that's irrelevant. Bottom line is, Minato literally thinks that, or not Minato, Tobirama just says he's flat out just faster, you name it. The whole nine, it looks really, really bad for Tobirama. Looks really bad, Unless Kishimoto provides more evidence and feats or something to show Tobirama of, just to gather more of what he can really do, that's just kind of where we're always going to be at with him. It is what it is, so.
Minato just had to be so incomprehensibly, inconceivably fast after teleporting that Obito couldn't even perceive that he was about to get hit in time to activate Kamui. I don't think that Tobirama has speed on that level. People like to bring up the moment in the war when he teleports Jubito's attack away when, you know, 10 Tails Obito is about to hit Minato when he's in the 9 Tails chakra mode. And they're like, yeah, you know, Tobirama's even faster than KCM Minato. But it's like, no, Minato was clearly, super duper obviously not in a good state of mind. He was super dazed. Like, he just found out that his student, you know, like one of the people who he cared about, raised, instructed as a ninja. I mean, like, you can tell Minato.
Like it's stated in the data books, blatantly emphasized and shown, like, a mental nerf occurred.
Liked Obito.
And then when he's out of his mental nerf and Naruto awakens him from his stupor, literally he's over here fighting against fucking Jubito at full power prime and being relative to Sage Mode KCM2 Naruto.
Conversation that they have in Kakashi Gaiden, and he found out that this kid tried to destroy the village, killed his wife, killed him, tried to kill his kid. You know, he's just like, oh my god, like he felt like he didn't know how to process it. Of course, he couldn't fight properly, and then as soon as he gets out of it, he's just back to, you know, giving Obito the hands. He's fighting in sync with like KCM Sage Mode Naruto.
Yep.
You know, so like Tobirama is definitely not faster than KCM Minato. And it's implied, based on the fact that Minato gets to the battlefield first, that Minato's faster than him in base as well, when he doesn't have these horribly dark, depressing, you know, self-defeating thoughts going through his mind, right? Like,
like I say, he gets to the battlefield, has a full conversation with Naruto and Sakura, stops the 10 Tails Tail Beast Bomb, okay, like places all his marks in it. Like, that motherfucker was way more faster than all the fucking Kage. Like, it was ridiculous, you know? So
Tobirama's not faster than Minato. Please, like let it go. He doesn't have the contract seal like Thunder God said, so he wouldn't be able to separate the 9 Tails from Obito. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing here. You can assume maybe like, oh, Tobirama's smart. He created Edo Tensei and Shadow Clone.
And also before all the weirdos come out too and be like, oh, it's travel speed or whatever, blah blah. There's literally an abundance of statements where it says Minato and the Raikage's nerve transmission, reaction speed, and combat speed is literally the same exact level as their fucking teleportation, blah, you name it, okay? Like, it's a bunch of bullshit, alright? Like, and we literally even have feats. Like, when Minato does his body flicker, he was able to save Naruto before he gets stabbed by Obito. He literally teleports, uses combat and reaction speed at the same time as well. So he's using travel, combat, and reaction all at once at the same time in saving Naruto before he can be fucking stabbed. And then is forced to use Flying Raijin when this paper bomb is about to explode, and then he has to do that, you know, okay? So, like, overall, like, there's tons and tons of examples and feats. And the Raikage is the same. When he's using body flicker and using his travel speed, he's literally punching along while moving and reacting, coordinating, etc., you name it. So, once again, like, all that shit is literally in sync. It's all on the same exact fucking level. The only thing that's not the same level is Flying Raijin compared to Minato and Tobirama's speed. As for using body flicker and all that shit or whatever, it's all the same fucking shit. So if you're gonna try to sit here and rat and be like, oh, it's only travel speed, that makes no fucking sense. Because if it was only travel speed, then Minato would literally just fucking move so quick and spear Naruto to the wall, and Naruto splats, basically. Because he can't be able to process and grab and use his hands to protect the baby while moving. You know what I mean? Like, that's literally what would happen. It'd be like him being like a fucking bullet and just splat Naruto on the wall, you know, if it was only travel speed. And same thing for any other fucking moment. Whenever he's moving from the 9 Tails, dodging the 9 Tails attacks, or if he's dealing with anything else or whatever, like fighting, you know, like all kinds of shit, like, literally he would just die instantaneous, you know, like. So, like, because literally, that's what it was. He saved Kushina. Like, the 9 Tails went to kill Kushina on the ground. He body flickers, has travel speed, combat, and reaction. Moves so quick, grabs her, and jumps out of the way. So, it's all the same shit. Like, there is an abundance of evidence to say otherwise. So, for you to say it's only travel speed, good luck even proving that, because there's literally no evidence whatsoever to prove that it's only travel speed. It's just, it's blatantly dishonest. Or you're just being intuitively incorrect, you know, or just not aware.
Flying Raijin, surely he has it, but you don't know, you can't prove it. So, like, we're not gonna say, like, it's not like actively choosing Obito's side or anything to say that Tobirama doesn't have something like this to help him. It's just that, like, we'd have to make up something, or just be like, oh yeah, he probably has it, like when there's no reason to assume so. So and like I said, that's the biggest obstacle he has to overcome here is the Ninetales, right?
Yeah.
Like the Ninetales is really strong. I don't think that Tobirama with like raw stats and no wood style or anything that's equivalent to suppress the Ninetales chakra is going to be able to stop it.
No, not as water style, not fucking nothing. Like, the only thing you could argue for Tobirama, the only thing is maybe his, like, infinite Edo explosion move, you know what I mean? So if he has, like, if he brings up an Edo Tensei, or let's say he's an Edo Tensei, and he does his, like, infinite explosion, maybe that could kill the Ninetales, maybe? But it's still really hard to know. We really just don't fucking know. So it is what it is.
Even if you remove Obito from the equation, I think that the Ninetales would...
But I will say this. I do think Tobirama could at least get the Ninetales away. Even if you don't think he can beat it, okay, I do think he can at least get it away from the village, and then this way it's at least away. Like, so, but the problem is still Obito is there. I mean, and if he can't beat Obito, then he loses. It's that simple.
Kill Tobirama probably.
And him being fatigued and having to deal with the Ninetales as well, that's not going to help, especially against Obito.
One-on-one fight. So, I'm going to give it to Obito here.
I was going to add, like, honestly, because I agree with everything you said. Even if you went, like, with more charitable stuff for Tobirama, right? Like, even if you say, like, he does something cool he does, like, that feat against Rinnegan Madara and he's that speed. Even if you somehow said Tobirama beat Obito, it doesn't change the fact that he can't beat the Ninetales, and that's the real problem here. So even if we gave you like some extremely, if we very like the most charitable to Tobirama and actually like did give him these higher levels, it still wouldn't change the fact that in this situation he would not be able to complete the parameters and defend the village. So yeah, it's not necessarily a situation of him being weak, just like he's not able to like really defend against all that's being thrown against him.
So if we want to talk about Edo Tobirama for a second here, I don't even know how this would happen, how like War Arc Edo Tobirama, like that version of the jutsu specifically, because I mean, like nobody had refined Edo Tensei to the point that Kabuto and I guess
no offense, I don't even gotta explain that. He's absolutely correct. It's just not. It's like, how would this even fucking happen to begin with? But they're just doing it,
Strength. But anyway, assuming that somehow this weird, wacky situation does happen. I mean, I guess it's already weird anyway to put Tobirama up against Obito, who like became evil during the Third Great Ninja War, which was like 2 world wars after Tobirama died. So anyway, this is a weird situation, but just ignore it. So who would win the fight if you just put Tobirama in the same spot? If you actually do think that Tobirama is faster than Minato, then I guess he would be able to beat Obito and then beat the Ninetales by regenerating over and over and using, like, Tandem Paper Bomb. Now what I'll say about Tandem Paper Bomb is that, so the big thing that people use to hype this jutsu up, it's the, like, where he attaches exploding tags to himself, and then, like, they summon more and more and more and more, right? What people, cite as, like the big reason this jutsu is so crazy is that it cracked one of Hashirama's deity gates, and I believe that one of the Ten Tails Biju bombs wasn't even able to do that, right?
Yeah.
So it should be stronger than anything that the Ninetales could shoot out, which means that it should be able to destroy the Ninetales, right? So Edo Tobirama might actually have a case for being able to beat the Ninetales. In fact, I'd say that there's a strong chance that he could do it if he can tag him with Tandem Paper Bomb. The thing is...
Okay, so they do agree with me on that, because I said that he could probably do it as alive as well, if he's able to get an Edo Tensei, but...
I don't think, and I'm pretty sure TG doesn't think, that Tobirama is faster than Minato, so I don't think it matters. I think he just gets sucked into Kamui, right?
Yeah. It's one of those things, like, even if you said, like, he was, like, for whatever reason you did go that interpretation route, it just, like, the arsenal isn't there, and even, like, Tandem Paper Bombs, like you said, like, even if you argue, like, it's damaging the Ninetales, which is a fair interpretation, I think that's fine. And there's also the question of, like, where the Ninetales is, because if he's still inside the village or surrounding it, he just wouldn't use the jutsu. So,
exactly.
Yeah. So, it's one of those things, like, Tobirama is really strong, just the arsenal isn't suited for this type of battle. Realistically, yeah.
He'd do better than, like, any of the modern day Kage.
Yeah. Oh, facts.
Like any of the...
Yeah, no, he'd do tremendously better against Hiruzen, Tsunade, you fucking name it. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, my God.
4 Kage that you put into this position, Tobirama would do better. than them. Like, don't worry, Tobirama's not a slouch. He was, you know, one of the strongest ninja who ever lived, but so is Obito. And the Ninetales is also, like, I mean, you saw, like, one half of it just clash with a tailed beast bomb from 6 other Biju at the same time.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like the same Ninetales that's on the level of the wooden golem at Perfect Susanoo. It's a different level.
Here's one thing you need to do before buying anything online. Don't spend another dime on Amazon until you watch this first.
Next up, we have Hiruzen. And this is weird because Hiruzen was there the night of the Ninetales attack. So I guess for this scenario, we can just assume that there is no Minato and Hiruzen has to do it himself. He loses. Just straight up.
He gets fucking slammed. Like, bro, the guy was begging for Minato. He was like, Minato, where are you? This is really bad. Like, it was over, bro. There was nothing they can do. And the moment the Ninetales did the Biju bomb, Hiruzen just basically concedes. He's like, oh no, he's doing that. Like, what do we do? You know what I mean? Like, so no matter what, like, Hiruzen's fucked. Like, there's nothing he can do, bro. Like, the only Hiruzen you could argue for is if it's like a hypothetical, like, young prime Hiruzen that's somehow, I guess, stronger than even Hashirama or some bullshit, which I don't think was ever the case either. But either way, like, you know, if you want to go that route, then sure. But he's done. He's done. Not even young old Hiruzen or really old Hiruzen that we see in Part 1 Naruto. Come on. Like, get slammed.
He gets obliterated, bro. There's
like, the Ninetales would either kill him or Obito speed blitzes. Simple.
Is old man like Hiruzen doing here? Like, nothing at all. Like, it just, the stat difference is too, you know. Listen, realistically, if you want to take it there, old man Hiruzen saw Minato's coffin coming up, and he's like, I can't let this happen, bro.
He was like, no way, instant defeat if Minato steps out of that coffin. Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And like, this was about 10 years ago, about 12 years ago, and, you know, Hiruzen says, oh, if I was 10 years younger, I would be able to, or it's either him or Orochimaru says that, like, if Hiruzen was 10 years younger, he'd be able to rip out Orochimaru's soul. So, like, 10 years younger Hiruzen would probably be around or above that Orochimaru level from the Chunin exams. And, like, we're talking about the full entire Ninetales here, man.
Yeah, man.
Plus Obito with Kamui, and, like, Hiruzen just doesn't have the speed to put him on the level of somebody like Obito, right? What's gonna happen is he's gonna see the Ninetales while he's standing on top of the Hokage monument. I don't know what he's gonna do about that first Biju bomb. Assuming he does something to blow it away, Obito's gonna teleport behind him. He's gonna try to attack Obito like Minato did. Obito's gonna catch his hand and suck him in the Kamui.
Yeah.
That's where the battle ends.
There's not too, like, the most you could say is, like, maybe he, like, if because Enma, I'll say this too, not a lot of people bring this up, because a lot of people bring up, like, him pushing the Ninetales out of the village. That's also a more prime Enma as well. Like, not too many people bring that up. And it's like, if you did argue Enma stayed the same strength, maybe, like, he pushes the QB's mouth up when he's, like, charging it, but, like, come on, man. Like, think about that. Like, how much I'm reaching just to give the case to Hiruzen. Like, it's like, even if I said that, like, Obito's surprise jump, like, people don't understand. You cannot stop that. Like, it's so strong, like, in that you really have to have a lot, like, you really need, like, space-time ninjutsu to really counter that. So, Hiruzen doesn't have anything to really deal with that.
Yeah. So, another thing that, like, even if Hiruzen somehow lives through Obito teleporting behind him, right? Like, if they engage in that open field, or pretty much anywhere, the same way that Minato and Obito fought each other, I don't think Hiruzen's prepared for, like, running at Obito phasing through him, and him getting caught by the chains. Because if Minato couldn't teleport there, that was it. Like, he had to immediately warp away, and Hiruzen can't do that. So, you know, like, I just see way too many ways for Obito to win this.
Yeah.
Even if somehow Obito, like, no, actually, I was gonna say, no, you know, I'm not even gonna give Hiruzen that. There's no way Hiruzen is hitting Obito here.
I'll put it like this. Naruto linking with Kurama is what Minato had always envisioned for him to fight the Obito that Minato had fought. So you kind of have to look at, like, okay, Naruto, like, needs to, like, link up with Kurama, approach these, like, KCM2 or, like, Kurama link mode, however you want to say that. Is Hiruzen on that level? No, there's nowhere near that. So it's like that's kind of where, like, Naruto, like, needed to get the Ninetales chakra. That's what Minato had always wanted. And that, like, Minato
that was to fight Obito without the Ninetales, by the way.
Or none of that. So it's like, it's ridiculous. So yeah, Hiruzen's just not on that level.
So Next Hokage.
Oh, and then if you want to even go even further in the game, which is also canon, what's it called? Fucking Naruto Storm Revolution. Jiraiya and Hiruzen fights Minato at the same time, and Minato beats them both. And they did that because they're like, hey, if you want to be Hokage, you got to beat us. You got to beat both of us, basically, which was insane. Like a 2v1, and he won. Like,
be Minato, but you know, happened. So after that, we have Tsunade. Do you want to go ahead and start us out with Tsunade?
big boo bitch.
So I'm gonna.
She gets fucking slammed. She gets slammed. If she thought the pain shit was bad, bro, she's gonna be real butthurt with this one.
This might be a hot take. I don't think she's punching a Bijou bomb. I don't know, like, who needed to hear that. So the thing with Tsunade is, like, I actually think she might take a different approach in this matchup, especially if you have, like, if you include, like, Hiruzen in the situation, you're letting him deal with the matchup. She might take a more medical approach and actually begin to start healing villagers, like she did in the Pain attack, while letting, like, other Jonin and Ko fight instead of straight up fighting Pain herself. In which case, she loses because Obito just comes up behind her and just grabs her, in which case, like, again, she does nothing.
Yep.
If she knows Obito's there, she does nothing because he's faster. She's not able to attack him. Some people might say she's like Raikage level speed. I don't agree with that. Madara notes she's blatantly slower. Madara's also hard to judge in that fight.
Wow, TG can read manga panels. I'm not saying that to make fun of him. I'm saying that to make fun of all the rats and sophist idiots. Like, it's insane when I'll hear someone try to convince me that Hiruzen or the Sannin has the same speed as Raikage or Minato. It's like, what the fuck are you on? Like Madara just says it flat out. She's slower than the Raikage, but her power is greater. Her AP. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, come on, bro. Like, what are we doing?
He lets a lot of stuff slide, and it gets a little harder to determine exactly what he's letting slide and what he isn't. It also doesn't help that he doesn't respect the Kage and is blatantly letting them, like, bash against his Susanoo. Like, he even notes, like, some of their jutsu isn't worthy enough to absorb. So I don't think there's too much to go off of there, in which case, yeah, Tsunade really just doesn't have an answer to BFR or the Ninetales, really. Like, maybe you could argue she
You know what's funny about that? Madara's over here talking this shit, you know, you name it, and then, like, a shadow clone, like a, you know what I mean, like a Sage Mode shadow clone throws a Ryzen Shuriken, and then Madara has to absorb it, and he's like, too much power. Like, and then, so it's like a shadow clone of Naruto in Sage Mode was more of like a threat, or Madara took serious and respected it. You know what I mean? The jutsu. But then all these father motherfuckers, he's like, yeah, nah, your jutsus are so trash. I don't need to absorb it. To be fair, he only said that about the others. He didn't say that about, excuse me. He didn't say that about the Suzukage, though. Inoki's particle style, he respected that shit. He would absorb it.
Maybe, but, like, you know, that's kind of like their upper limits of her strength. And this isn't the work, so maybe you could argue this wouldn't even apply here, is breaking Madara's Susanoo ribcage, which is not as strong as the full Ninetales. The Ninetales is more comparable to the perfect Susanoo. So yeah. It just wouldn't, it doesn't translate. It doesn't translate at all. She doesn't really have a chance against the Ninetales, Obito, and how she reacts in the situation isn't even an offensive role. My bad. Like, that's the other way I see it.
No, I feel you. I'm like the
maybe her boob's gonna win. Ever. I don't know.
I really want to give her something here, but I don't see any way for her to beat the full Ninetales or Obito in one-on-ones, and like she has to fight them both together. It's just not happening, man. You know, like 100 healing is crazy.
It's not fair.
Be able to eat some damage, but it doesn't matter because Obito can just suck her into Kamui, right? Yeah. Like Obito. The thing is, like AP and defense are completely irrelevant against him because he, like, you know, he has this infinite attack stat through Kamui where he can just pull you into his dimension and you can't get out. He has this infinite defense stat also with Kamui because you can't hit him. So you just have to outspeed him, and she doesn't. Then, you know, the Ninetales is a complete fucking monster. Like, it's just not fair for her, you know. Like, I feel bad. It's such a setup for Tsunade, but you know.
I could add, like, if Obito were a different fighter,
it was good, Dad. It was good.
Because Tsunade does have some really nice, like, there's a scene where she tanks like Madara's Yoseka, my katana beads, all this crazy stuff. But like, because his like win condition isn't predicated on any AP or defense or anything like that, like Swag said, it's not in the cards for her.
Yeah. So next up, we have Kakashi, and we'll talk about two different versions of Kakashi here. First, the actual, like, Hokage version of Kakashi, who doesn't have any Sharingan, and War Art Kakashi, who has the Mangekyo. Now, a lot of people don't seem to know this. I could be wrong, but a lot of people don't seem to know that Hokage Kakashi is actually stronger than War Kakashi. And this isn't like headcanon or whatever. It's said in his light novel, like while, you know, you see his escapades as Hokage and stuff, that he is in fact stronger than he was when he fought Obito and Madara. But that doesn't really matter because it's like, like Kamui is his only way to interact with Obito at all. He doesn't have that, like, unless you are really charitable to him based off of his fight with Obito, he doesn't have the speed and like the reactions to like hit Obito like during.
Yeah, Kage Kakashi speed blitzes Obito and bitches him to oblivion, and same thing with the Nine Tails, bitches him. But if it is, you know, War Kakashi, he loses. I'm sorry, he can't do it. He's not KCM 1 level. He's not Minato level. All that bullshit or all that nonsense. Mind you, he's my favorite character. And I'm going to be the first one to sit here and tell you motherfuckers, Kakashi is not on those levels. Come on, that's ridiculous, okay? If you want to say he's now hitting Sonic level or maybe above, by all means, you do you. But to sit here and say he's Minato level or fucking, you know, Itachi level, or even to say he's fucking KCM 2 and all this bullshit, come on, bro. What are we doing? You know what I mean? So it's just, let's be real.
He materializes. That's the problem here. Because it's like you just have to be so much faster than Obito to do it. Because it's like as soon as he even gets like a whiff of an incoming attack, bam, intangible again.
Does it help that Kamui is also like unconscious and can be passive at times?
Another problem is even if you grant the scaling for Kakashi against Obito, which even though there's context and contradictions to that, and to where Obito was holding back and just letting him do whatever because he wanted to, his fucking little seal tag that Madara had in his heart, he wanted that to go away, okay? But either way, even if you grant that, okay, bottom line is it's blatantly proving that there's equal stats, right? Or relativity bare minimum, and meaning, therefore, Kakashi would not be able to beat Obito because he does not have Flying Raijin, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he has Body Flicker, but he would have to be way faster than Obito then, and he's not. You know what I mean? So Obito could just use Kami the whole time, whatever, and then he loses. And he also can't Kami Obito because Obito can cancel it. So it's not fair. And then Obito has way more stamina and chakra. It's not even a competition. You could argue that Kakashi could probably Kami the Nine Tails' head off, or Biju Bomb, sure. But overall, like, that's just, come on, that's what you're working with. To Genjutsu the Nine Tails, that's also a possibility maybe, but we've never really seen Kakashi do that in character, and he doesn't even do it against Tail Beast. And that would be the perfect opportunity, and if anything, any reason to do so, especially, you know, I mean, to fuck with Obito's control and shit. So, like, if anything, I feel like there's a lot more evidence to the contrary that he cannot Genjutsu the Nine Tails or Tail Beast like that either. So, no matter what, Kakashi just loses. It is what it is. Even if we take his strongest version, which was War Arc. If it's 6-pass Kakashi with Susanoo, obviously slams. If it's Boruto Kakashi, slams if you think the novels are canon. If you don't think the novels are canon, then I'm going to be honest with you, we really don't have a lot when it comes to Kakashi. Like, the only thing you can really argue is power cliffing. So maybe by that time, now he's like pretty fucking strong or whatever, and he could just shit on that Obito and the Nine Tails too, but it's kind of hard to say, so.
Which also like is a defensive mechanism for Obito, because it pretty much mitigates like the ability for anybody to, or most people, to just straight up speed blitz him. Like an example being how Ten Tails Madara has him right there and he still phases through him. So like that added on to this just makes it so he can perform a lot of crazy strategies. Just to add on to that, because I know some people.
I'm gonna put this out here. Jubi Madara could not even speed blitz Obito before he could use Kami. Like, take that at a grain of salt. Come on. Now, it's either he couldn't or Obito already had it on. It's one of the two. So, now, I'm going to be honest with you. Which one I had to pick, I would say it was already on, because I think that's a little fucking insane and ridiculous and just blatant contradiction to chain scaling, etc. The whole nine in the narrative, with Obito having a fucking jutsu activation speed to Jubi Madara, you know? But either way, like, it's just like, if Obito could even be able to deal with characters like 6-pass level, as long as it's on or whatever you name it, it's like, come on, what does he do, you know?
People might grasp on the fact that, like, oh, Kakashi, like, stronger in the War Arc, maybe he scales like Minato or something like that, but again, like, Obito does have ways to mitigate that. That's the point I'm making. So you can continue.
I mean, yeah, so it basically the only thing that Kakashi has in his arsenal at any point in the series that would allow him to fight Obito here is Kamui in the war. I mean, I guess we could talk about DMS Dual Mangekyo Kakashi, like when Obito's soul flew into him and he got both Sharingan. But that Kakashi was like speed blitzing Kaguya and stuff.
Victimizes Obito, bro. They're gonna Kamui through each other all day. He just gets victimized, bro. It's crazy. But
yeah,
continue.
exactly. The Nine Tails and Obito are done in like 3 seconds. So War Art Kakashi is more interesting because if he's able to figure out how Kamui works, he could actually start hurting Obito by like nullifying Obito's close range Kamui with his long range Kamui. The main problem with this is that he wasn't really able to do anything without Naruto as backup. Like, he had to teleport Naruto's Rasengan into Kamui. Then he had to teleport the Naruto clone into Kamui. He couldn't really capitalize on it by himself. And also, that was when they were just fighting Obito. The tailed beasts were all pulled back into the statue and everything. He didn't have a whole 9 tails to worry about. And by the way, even if he were fighting all of the tailed, even if he were fighting all of the tailed beasts at the same time, that wouldn't really help him. Like, you wouldn't have more of an argument for him because like the 9 tails is just stronger than all of them combined, and that was half of it. So I don't really know what Kakashi's supposed to do about the 9 tails. He could teleport the 8 tails into Kamui. So maybe he could like teleport it all the way into Kamui, but I just feel like Kurama's fast enough to move out of the way, and like has, you know, like, because the thing is, he teleported a willing 8 tails into Kamui, not like he didn't do it without consent. So I feel like Kurama would be able to fight back against it, shoot a tailed beast bomb at Kakashi, and then Kakashi would have to jump out of the way. I just don't see this happening for him either at the point in time when he was Hokage or during the 4th War.
Something interesting to note too is that Obito can always pull back Kurama the same way Madara reverse summoned the Geto statue or just summoned it while Kakashi was actually Kamuing it. So it's like, even if he sees like Kakashi trying this technique, he might just be able
and that's the thing too. He could just stop Kakashi from Kamuing the 9 tails as well. Like, it's a hard counter, dude. It's a hard fucking counter.
to pull the 9 tails away and like make
it's not
it
fair.
doesn't happen as well. So
like Obito could deadass literally just troll Kakashi the whole time and basically torture and torment him, like with just like basic. Obito could literally just sit in the background. Kakashi's like, Kamui, the 9 tails head off, or the Bija bomb. Boom, doesn't work, and Kakashi's like, huh? The fuck? Imagine, and then Kakashi just dies from like losing stamina and chakra, you know, drain completion.
Said, he Kamui's the 9 tails BFR. It's not guaranteed because Obito's gonna be looking around, like he's waiting for his chance to get Minato in their fight. So Obito's gonna be present on the battlefield. Just a side point for anybody wondering.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Obito would suspect that Kakashi might have Kamui anyway because he knows that that's his Sharingan. So, I mean, like, everything's just lining up against Kakashi for this fight. Again, unless you use Dual Mangekyo Kakashi, which is like a complete stomp in Kakashi's favor. But yeah, I don't see him taking this. So next up, we have Naruto. You can go ahead and introduce 7th Hokage Naruto.
Whoa.
Yeah, Naruto, bro. That man could have diarrhea and he slams. He slams in any form, shape, and capacity. He could have his eyes closed and he slams, okay? That man could do it. Better yet, he just sent a shadow clone and wins, okay?
Oh, hey, well, we didn't agree to this before the recording, guys. No, next, we actually have KCM to Sage Mode Naruto. We think this is like the Naruto that you really kind of have to use in this situation because Naruto's very similar to Hashirama, to where like
it's just a stomp, right?
Yeah,
like, Hokage Naruto is just so unfair. There's nothing to say. He fought Kaguya. He fought Madara with the 10 tails. He fought Rinnegan Sasuke. He fought Momoshiki. And base, by the way. So, I don't know how 14-year-old Obito is supposed to fight him, right?
Not at all. Not at all. He's a completely different tier above Obito. That shouldn't be too questionable. So don't bring that in here. KZM2 Sage Mode's a bit more interesting because he's similar to Hashirama in a lot of ways. So, for example, right, like let's say you start off with like
Sage Mode though. Sage Mode, not KCM2 Sage Mode. Absolutely agree.
Having Naruto like sit on Minato's like on top of the Hokage monument, there is a couple things he could actually just summon his own Kurama avatar and wrestle with the Nine Tails a little bit to kind of subdue it before he tail Beast Bombs. He's certainly fast enough. He's definitely faster than the Nine Tails at this point. So he should be able to like dart across the battlefield, kind of like how he darts across and catches Madara and Obito when they're about to attack as respective senseis or something to that degree. So he definitely has a lot of capability here. The big thing is like Obito, right? Because the Nine Tails we're not too worried about with Naruto. He should be fine against that.
Okay, I'm gonna say this, bro. Come on, bro. Come on. KCM2 Sage of Naruto slams this Obito. Like, come on, bro. What we doing? You know what I mean? Like, Obito's not a problem at all. Now, obviously, if he already has Kamui on, sure, that could be annoying. But as long as Naruto keeps the pressure or whatever, or it just boils down to who can outlast who, my money's on Naruto. Especially with Sage Mode, which basically rejuvenates his stats and stamina. And, you know what I mean? You name it, like, Naruto can go all day, every day, bro. You know what I mean? Like, so it is what it is. I do think personally he'd be able to combat against Kurama as well. Would he be able to beat the Nine Tails? I don't know about all that. You know what I mean? Because he has no abilities to suppress her or anything like that. You know. Now, like basically the best way to argue him being able to deal with the Nine Tails is like if he could do it with just Sage Mode, you know what I mean, and some help on the side against half the power. He could definitely do it with KCM2 Sage Mode on top of it against full 9. You know what I mean? You see what I'm getting at? You know, like, come on. And then he also has, like, clones and shit, too. So, like, it is what it is. So, he'll probably have to, like, get the Nine Tails, like, out of the fucking village or some shit and, like, and, you know, and things like that. But, you know, or if the Nine Tails shoots a Biju Bomb, he'll have to shoot his Biju Bomb. You know what I mean? Like, and make it go in the air or some bullshit or smack it away, you know, like he did with all the other Biju Bombs. Things like that. So that's kind of what I see, you know, but when it comes to Obito's just not even a factor, dude. Like, he's really not, bro.
1v1 that. Obito's an issue. Naruto does have a lot of options now because this Naruto can summon clones. You can summon clones in KCM2 or Kurama Link mode. You can summon clones in regular KCM, or you can have a clone in Sage mode sitting inside the Kurama avatar, which would aid him in the sense that he's able to like kind of have an extra layer of sensory. Or he could just put himself in Sage mode and just have that same sensory buff. In which case, it's extremely difficult for Obito to get the drop on Naruto. We actually even see, like, in the war when Naruto's developed a bit more, Obito verbatim tries to grab him, and Naruto's, like, kind of acclimating to the point he can move away. So it's like Naruto's kind of approaching these points to where, like, he can just kind of get away from Obito before Obito grabs him, or he's just, like, that much faster. Or he just has sensory capabilities that allow him to combat. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that you can definitely argue that, like, War Arc KCM2 Sage Mode Naruto is stronger than Hashirama. Alive Hashirama is questionable, but Edo Hashirama, he definitely seems to be, because he's, like, fighting against Ten Tails Obito. And before Obito stabilized and started controlling the Six Paths power, Hashirama looked at him and was like, yeah, that guy's stronger than me. And then, you know, again, he like stabilized, he got stronger. He got stronger as he adapted more and more.
All right, so I'll say something about this, because this is where it gets this is where it gets interesting, contentious. KCM2 Sage Mode Naruto against Hashirama, it's really Edo, reminds you, right? Not Alive. Alive would slam. But if it's Edo, it's interesting, but I do still think Hashirama wins due to like him having suppression, and Woodstyle is like basically kryptonite to the Nine Tails power, you know what I mean? And when it really comes down to it, you know, I do think it's definitely going to be a competitive match still. And Hashirama more than likely win because he's basically kryptonite to Tail Beast chakra and shit, you know, you name it. And that's basically what you're working with, you know, like to say, because I don't know about that take. To say that Naruto scales to Jubito and Hashirama just can't no matter what, that's a little weird, because no matter what, we know Jubito was holding back the whole time, and he's basically just testing Naruto the entire time and basically trying to force him into submission. You know what I mean? Like, if Jubito wanted Naruto dead or Sasuke dead, it would have happened a long time ago. If he wanted anybody else dead, they would have been dead. You know what I mean? Like, he was constantly conflicted the whole time, mentally nerfed, you name it, whatever, holding back, blah, blah. Like, there's even moments where he's, like, constantly subduing them or could kill them at any moment in time, and he's still, like, just letting them live, and he's like, are you done now? You know, like, so I don't know about all that one. Like, sure, if you want to argue and say Naruto scales to it in a relative sense or whatever, then obviously, yeah, he would beat Hashirama. But I don't think he scales to Jubito. I really don't. He's only fighting and combating against Jubito because Jubito is allowing him to do so. You know, it's just as simple as that.
Using the power, and then by the end he's like holding the sword of Nunaboko in his hand at like absolute max power, and Naruto's still able to react to his attacks, dodge him. Like, they clash because Naruto's able to, like, see one of his attacks and react with one of his own. He's being helped by Sasuke, but Naruto is definitely the one pulling the most weight there,
Yeah.
right? Because, like, Sasuke is also getting helped by Jugo,
Yeah.
and Naruto's sharing his chakra with all of his other teammates, like Lee and Ino and stuff. So
I can just girl talk.
Can you?
Yeah.
Oh.
You guys okay out here? Hey.
Naruto is no slouch. I don't think he was stronger than Jubito, but he was like fighting him. He wasn't off the radar, like multiple tiers below or anything like that. So I think that, yeah, he should be fast enough and have enough foresight thanks to Sage Mode that maybe he can make clones, or if Obito tries to grab him and pull him into Kamui, he can use the cloak to attack Obito and create like extra arms, or make like a mini Rasen Shuriken or something like that, right? Yeah. It's just
it's just not a fair matchup. But yeah, once again, that's the only contention I have against Naruto being over Hashirama. I don't know about all that. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, Jubito was basically allowing him to do what he's doing. You know, if Jubito wanted him dead, he'd be dead. Like, if you like at the end of the, like if we're highballing Naruto, right? Then sure. I mean, then obviously there's some form of arbitrary like relativity, and then yeah, obviously there you go. But I just personally, I don't think that Naruto is 6-pass level. I just don't feel like there's enough evidence to prove that. There's not really statements. There's nothing to emphasize or prove that Naruto is really on that level. He doesn't get to that level until he gets 6-pass. So that's just me personally. You know what I mean? It is what it is, but
really difficult for Obito to immediately dismiss this version of Naruto. So I actually think he has a fairly good shot at doing this. But and again, this we're talking about like War Art KCM2 Sage Mode Naruto right now, because Hokage Naruto is just like a foregone conclusion that obviously he wins. You throw him up against anyone from Shippuden, maybe except Kaguya, but probably even including Kaguya, and he just wins. Usually he just wipes the floor with them.
Puts his feet up and lets a clone solos, to be honest.
Yeah,
Realistically,
exactly.
It's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
So, yeah, it's looking so far like the only people who can confidently, or who we can say confidently take the W here, are Hashirama and Naruto. What a surprise. The two strongest Hokage by far. Now, we have a couple bonus rounds in mind, because we didn't want to just talk about the Hokage. We also wanted to throw in some Hokage candidates here. So the first one is Danzo. And Danzo wasn't just a candidate. He actually was temporarily the Hokage. Like, he didn't get written down in the history books as one of the Hokage. He doesn't have his face in the Hokage Stone Monument. But there was a point in time where people were calling Danzo Hokage, and people thought he was going to be one of the Hokage, and then he got killed by Sasuke. So we'll say that he sort of counts for this.
Yeah.
He gets, like, bodied, probably.
Yep. Gets
like,
slammed.
Motherfucker
gets slammed, bro.
It's like the version.
But now, I will say this. There is a fair argument that he might be able to control the Nine Tails, because Obito does hint towards that, like, oh, he has Hashirama cells and the Sharingan. Okay, he's trying to control the Nine Tails. Interesting. But then again, that's only around the time where there's only half the Nine Tails, not the full. So it's still very contentious whether if he could or not. And most importantly, this is kind of what you're working with. Now, at the end of the day, Danzo has the Mingekyo Sharingan because of Shishui, and whatnot. So he does have the requirement to control the Nine Tails in Tainment as well. It's stated verbatim multiple times that you just need the Mingekyo and you can control the Nine Tails or subdue it. So when it comes down to it, could Danzo deal with the Nine Tails? I would probably say yeah, he could do it. But when it comes to Obito, he's getting bitched. He's getting absolutely slammed. So it is what it is.
That was at the 5 Kage Summit, right? So he has this whole Izanagi arm, and it's like, first of all, I don't even know how much that would help him against Kamui, because it's like, so let's say he activates Izanagi and Obito pulls him into the Kamui dimension. What happens? Does he, like, re-manifest outside? Because it's not like Kamui killed him. It just teleported him into another dimension safely. So, like, does he come back out?
Really interesting.
And I mean, even then, like, what's he going to do with 9 more attempts,
Yeah.
And plus, it's like, how's he supposed to put down the Nine Tails? Like, the only thing you could argue is that he uses Kodo Amatsukami. But, so, first of all, Obito didn't seem afraid of it, like, at all when they were at the 5 Kage Summit and Sasuke was fighting Danzo. Second, if Danzo even has Kodo Matsukami ready to go is questionable here, because it's like, is this a Danzo that's currently the Hokage?
Okay, so I'll say this, though. Like, the best thing you could argue for Danzo is, like, fucking he immediately subdues the Nine Tails because of having the Woodstone Hashirama cells, you know, along with the Mangekyo Sharingan, you know, or whatever. And even, in like, that's without Kodo Matsukami. Like, let's say he doesn't even use that. He just uses the Mangekyo and bam, controls it, right? You don't need Kodo Matsukami to do it. Obviously, that's one way to do it. If he does Kodo, then yeah, for sure, it's the Nine Tails is out of the picture. And now he has the Nine Tails basically against Obito, but then really, it basically the problem is, like, if he does Kodo against the Nine Tails, sure, it's the Nine Tails and Danzo against Obito, but then Obito can literally just probably rupture the control. He could literally use his Genjutsu and, you know, kind of like deal with it that way. But there's fair arguments to say that Kodo Matsukami is stated to be the strongest Genjutsu several times, and the only Genjutsu, because of how powerful it is, to work on an Edo Tensei, while Infinite Tsukiyomi Genjutsu or Rin Sharingan Genjutsu could not work on Edo Tensei. So it's like, it kind of gets to the point where it's like, you know, could Obito be able to take away, who knows, maybe, you know, but then again, it's Danzo. So, like, there's a lot of things you could argue all around, I'll say that. But no matter what, when it comes down to it, okay, you know, let's say if he deals with the Nine Tails or not, or if he does it without Kodo, the only way you could even argue for Danzo is if he does Kodo Matsukami on Obito. That is the only way, bro. Like, if his jutsu activation is just fast enough to hit Obito and Obito's done and now he's under Danzo's control, then sure, by all means. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. I'll give you that. But that's like, it's like, I don't know, bro. You know what I mean? Like, and at the end of the day, like, you could have fair arguments to have for Obito why why Kodo Matsukami wouldn't really be a thing either. But what I will say, and I disagree with Swag there too. I don't think it was. I don't think it's you know, good to say Obito wasn't afraid of Kodo. Obito was definitely wary of it, and if anything, you could argue to the contrary, to where he says several times that he wants to take the eye, that he needs it or whatever, and then he also gets mad that Danzo basically destroyed it in the end. Okay, so like, there's definitely incentive, and there's definitely verbatim statements of Obito wanting Kodo, and he, like, this is the way I see it. Why would you want something when you're more powerful than it, or if you're just the same? You know what I mean? Like, does that make any sense? It's counterintuitive, you know? So, like, you wouldn't want a Kodo Matsukami or, you know, whatever, just for shits and giggles. That makes no sense. If Obito's built like that, or he's not afraid, or whatever, blah, blah, yada, yada, why the fuck would he even want it in the first place? You know what I mean? Like, that just doesn't make any sense, you know? So at the end of the day, like, I feel like you could definitely argue against that, or say it's to the contrary or whatever. But then again, you can make fair arguments for Obito, and to where maybe Obito just wanted to take it because he'd rather him have it than anyone else, you know, whatever. You know, you can go on and on, but when it comes down to it all, I feel like a lot of people don't really give Shishri the credit he deserves. It is a very powerful Genjutsu. It's very, very powerful, you know, so it is what it is. Like I said, the best way you can argue for Danzo is if he lands a Kodo, but that's it, you know. There's a lot of circumstantial, though, shit that you have to basically say and advocate for, and it is what it is. And no matter what, if I had to choose, could Danzo do it? I would say hell no, 9 out of 10 times. But is it impossible? I wouldn't say it's impossible. I say there is definitely a strong way to do it, because he has Hashirama cells, he has the Mangekyo, he has all the variables to get the Nine Tails out of the fight, or worst case scenario, use Kodo at least, right? Then it just boils down to Obito, and it's like, that's what you're working with. You know what I mean? If he has to fight Obito, he loses. He gets slammed. If he has Kodo, maybe. So it's that simple.
Swagkage, it's probably got to be one that traveled back in time, like, because like he has the Uchiha Sharingan arm, right? So is it the one that fought Sasuke on the bridge? Is it the one from the start of the Kage Summit? I don't know, right? But even if he has Kodo Matsukami and he can use it, I don't know how much it would work on Obito, because it seemed kind of ass when he used it on Mifune. I've had a theory for a while.
And that's the thing, too. I actually totally forgot. I'm over here tripping. I'm over here thinking it's like the other one. So that's the thing, too. The one Danzo has isn't even the broken one. Like, the one I was talking about, the broken one, was what Itachi had, okay? That one's fucking ridiculous. Like, once again, to be able to Genjutsu to Edo Tensei is insane. Not even Infinite Tsukiyomi could do that. So that one's fucking busted, and that one requires eye contact as well. With the eye that Danzo has, the other Mangekyo, okay, it's similar to Obito's ability where it's like they're both common, but they do two different things, right? They're similar, but they're not, right? The other eye is basically a more subtle, like a weak version of it, to where it doesn't require eye contact. So that's broken. The fact that it doesn't require eye contact is ridiculous. But either way, you basically are being controlled without even knowing, right? And it doesn't require eye contact, and it's basically more implied to be like a less stronger genjutsu. But it's more convenient because you can do it from any range or whatever, and you can just do it without eye contact, you know? So it is pretty strong too. And basically the best thing you can argue for Danzo is if he does Kodo, it requires no eye contact, you do it from any distance, whatever, right? Then Obito gets hit by it. Obito doesn't even know if he's being controlled, and then how do you fight against something when you don't even know? You know what I mean? Like, you're fucked, you know? So that's the problem. And then not only that, Danzo has several verbatim statements where he's constantly contemplating to either use it against Madara or Sasuke. So, you know, I feel like there's a lot more evidence to suggest that it could work against someone like Obito as well. But then again, you could argue against that and be like, oh, well, maybe that's just Danzo's thought process, and he doesn't. And how the fuck are we gonna make him as a credible source? You know, yada yada. You know what I mean? You could apply whatever speculation you want. But it's interesting. I'll say that at the end of the day. It's really, really interesting. Could that Kodo be able to deal with Obito? Maybe. I don't know. Like, maybe that'll give him enough time to land a killing blow, you know, or I don't fucking know, you know, or better yet, just deal with Obito. But you could also make fair arguments for Obito to say where he could just flat out maybe resist it, you know, like you could say that too. But then again, that's extremely, extremely hard to argue. Very hard to argue. There's only one time in Naruto where it's kind of implied that you can resist the Mangekyo, and that's when Itachi's talking to Kakashi, but it's very hard to take anything Itachi even says seriously, because around that whole entire fucking time, he's just saying shit to say shit. And then when it comes down to it, when it comes to Shippuden, everything he said in part 1 is contradicted in Shippuden. So it's like, we just, no matter what, 9 out of 10 times what Itachi's saying is just blatantly fucking false and not true. So when it comes to being able to resist, you know, whatever, that's really hard. The only thing you can argue in favor for resisting is like the Rinnegan shit with Sasuke to Jubi Madara, where he says Rinnegan Genjutsu can be dealt with Rinnegan. You know, so if you say like Mangekyo can be dealt with Mangekyo, then there you go. Obito's fine, he can resist it, he doesn't even get affected by it. You know what I mean? And therefore, it doesn't matter, right? But it's really, really interesting. It's very, very interesting. No matter what, if I had to say what really happens, I'd say it probably won't be effective against Obito. I don't think it would. If it's a weaker, you know, whatever, and blah, blah, you know, and if you provide the resistance argument for Obito is probably perfectly fine. Now, if he gets hit by it, if he's hit by it, you know what I mean, somehow, some way, then obviously Obito's going to be fucked. There's no way to combat against that. You can't fight against Kodo Matsukame and Tsukiyomi. It's literally hacks genjutsu that doesn't allow you to fight back. That's the problem. So if you get hit, you're done. Okay? So it's very interesting, but that's all I'll say about it.
Some videos before that the eye that Danzo got and the eye that Shisui gave Itachi work fundamentally differently, because Itachi's eye, like the eye that
I already
Shisui
know
gave
this
Itachi,
information.
Itachi just lit that on Obito.
Meet your next pillow. Why do we make our pillow
Fuck
in the
your
shape of a
pillows.
cube? I'll tell you.
Fuck your
Like,
pillows.
he would, I guess, try to get him to like back down, and then Obito would leave and then like come back, you know, like
it's really weird. And I'll say this, it's also like a bit questionable. I was gonna say like Izanagi, but we don't know if Obito's carrying it at that time. And it's a little bit, you know, you kind of have to like headcanon that, so I don't want to say that. It's just that like Obito really shows no fear against Kodo and Matsukami, and it's like I actually like the theory you brought forth where it's like they fundamentally like differ in what they do and stuff, and how they function. I think that's.
So I don't think that's necessarily headcanon. I'll disagree with that as well. Obito had a shit ton of Sharingan after the Uchiha massacre. Okay, a shit ton. It's literally on a whole fucking wall. Okay, so like for him to not have a Sharingan and to not be able to use Izanagi either, I don't know about all that one. You know what I mean? And if Obito has Izanagi on, okay, or if it's already on, then obviously even if he gets Kodo'd, he's perfectly fine. But if he doesn't have it on and he has to activate it like he had to do in the Konan fight, that's where it still becomes a problem. You know what I mean? So it is what it. I feel like this little. I don't know about all that one. He would definitely have access to Izanagi. He would definitely have access to that. But it's just not in character for him to always have it automatically on. He always will time it if necessary. You know what I mean? To prevent death, basically.
Really good one. And to even take it a step further, like, you know, we were talking about the Ninetales, you know, because there is a bit of dialogue from Obito that, like, oh, Danzo's getting ready to control the Ninetales. We don't know how he was gonna do that with, like, Hashirama in his arm or his face, and, like, maybe he was, like, looking for, like, a Senju DNA boosted Genjutsu for the Ninetales, or he was gonna sprout wood to control Naruto as he was evolving. We just don't know. The way I perceive it, it's like he was more likely probably gonna try and suppress Naruto himself, because he was even trying to restrain Naruto in the village. Didn't want him to leave, so I imagine he was probably gonna snake Naruto in some way. As like controlling the full Ninetales seems a bit out of his control, in my opinion. Maybe you could argue that.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Yeah. So I don't think he like clears either or, and he's just not capable. But he is interesting to talk about, because it's almost like he was preparing for this kind of eventuality by the dialogue discussed by him by Obito.
Yeah. But like another thing that kind of supports that he would lose here is he doesn't seem to think that he could beat Pain, like, because he doesn't interfere. He just lets Pain fuck up.
Yep, that is true.
Right. But at the same time, he also seems like maybe he has a plan to handle Pain. So I don't know. That's like unclear. Like I don't really know why he stabbed the messenger frog.
I always interpret it as like he's like just because I think they mention it like he wants the village to be weakened. He wants people to question Tsunade after this, like so he could come in and be like, listen, I would have personally never let that happen, just me, guys. But hey, man, what can you say? But yeah, nah, he definitely it's a little weird to talk about because he never really intervenes against Pain.
Yeah, he doesn't try to fight Pain, which he probably would if he thought he could.
Yeah.
So next up, we have Jiraiya as a Hokage candidate. And I might get in trouble for saying this, but I think that Jiraiya is weaker than all 7 of the Hokage, Tsunade included. Because, like, don't get me wrong, like, Jiraiya is strong, but Tsunade was, like, fighting and damaging Madara.
Agreed. Yeah.
You know, she, like, punched a hole in it turned out to be a wood clone, but it, like, you know, I feel like the actual Madara would have also gotten a pretty serious injury if he took the hit directly, and she was like blowing up his Susanoo and stuff, throwing it around. At best, you can say Jiraiya's like relative to Tsunade, and we already know that she doesn't have a chance in a situation like this. So there's just no way, especially because Jiraiya's not going to start.
Jiraiya gets absolutely fucking folded. I'm sorry. Not Sage mode, not even going to happen either. Even if he's in Sage mode, it's not. He gets slammed. I'm sorry.
Sage mode, he's going to need more time than I think he even has to enter Sage mode. I think he straight up loses before he even goes into it. So I think Jiraiya just gets cooked here.
Now, to be fair, you know what I mean, he could probably be able to get Sage mode if need be, you know, or if, let's say, even just let him start it. But even if he has Sage mode, it's just, he's not going to be able to beat the Ninetales, and he's not going to be able to fucking deal with Obito. Like, he got fucked up by the Four Tails, bro. Like, with half the power. You know what I mean? Like, come on, V2.
Amakin is not piecing up the Ninetales. I don't know who these things are that, but it's not happening. He's not built like that.
Next up,
if he was, he would have combated against the Ninetales. He was only able to hold it down with his legs. So,
Orochimaru, and we'll use Orochimaru from when he was a Hokage candidate, which was shortly before the start of the series. We don't even know if he had the Edo Tensei Hokage at this point, and it's probably safe to say that he didn't, because this seems like something that he tried to develop specifically because of the mind games he could play with Hiruzen using it. And so this would just be like, at best, we'll say, tuning exams Orochimaru type of stats, right? Where he's like able to fight Hiruzen and is a little bit stronger. Yes. Well,
remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. It's not exactly obvious to me that I know how to rest.
Old Hiruzen is weaker than the version of Hiruzen we said would be fighting the Ninetales, so Orochimaru also gets beat up. The only one that even has a chance is the one from the War Arc after Sage Kabuto was defeated, and he would still lose unless you give him the Edo Hokage, who like don't even listen to him anyway. And so, like, if Orochimaru shows up with the Zetsu,
Yeah, if it's just Orochimaru, he loses. If it's Orochimaru with Edo Kage, like Tobirama and Hashirama, he'll win. He'll win.
sacrifice Edo.
And I could see that. I could see that happening. I could see him bringing back the Okage. Like, let's say he is an Okage, right? And all that shit's going down. I could see that, actually. Like, that'd be actually a cool what-if scenario. Like, let's say Minato was an opponent of Okage, and Hiruzen actually gave it to Orochimaru instead, and Obito still did his attack, you know what I mean? I could actually see Orochimaru summoning the Edos to be able to help defeat the Nine Tails and Obito, or everything would still go the same way it did. Minato would just end up dying or whatever, you know what I mean? And then Orochimaru comes in the end, you know, and like in whatever. But either way, like, you know, no matter what, if Orochimaru is like, I could see that as a win con. As crazy as that sounds, it's insane. Orochimaru could actually probably be able to beat Obito and the Nine Tails. It's insane to think about, but that's kind of what you're working with. But that's only if it's War Arc Orochimaru. Because if it's obviously any other Orochimaru, the only fucking Edos he has is like the fucking trash can fucking Hokages, which they were garbage. They're over here being on the same level as old Hiruzen, you know? So
Okay. Then they would win, but that's not really, that's kind of like dishonestly answering the question. That goes against the spirit of, like, could Orochimaru do it with his arsenal? Because again, those Hokage weren't listening to him.
Yeah.
Hashirama could have snapped out at any time. So I'm not gonna give Orochimaru the W on this one.
Nah, not at all. You pretty much said it. It's kind of a no-brainer situation here. Like, there's nothing really to say to it.
Yeah. Next up, we have EMS Sasuke. Do you want to go ahead and introduce this?
So we'll be talking about the EMS Sasuke that kind of pulls up with on the battlefield, and, like, you know, it's kind of like,
that's pretty cool. EMS Sasuke, okay.
I'm gonna be Hokage. Obviously,
we're stretching the definition of Hokage candidate at this point.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know, we just figured it would be some fun.
And I'll say this. I'll start off by saying, like, that Sasuke actually does have a lot of options against the Nine Tails. You could argue he lights up the Nine Tails with the Matarasu, kind of like burning down its hide. You know, possibly even killing it to a point it has to regenerate, just like he did the Eight Tails.
Matarasu is a hard counter, but I don't even think it would even come to that. Like, he could just control the Nine Tails with his Mingekyo, you know what I mean? Or whatever, you know, like, or have like a tug of war battle with Obito and shit like that. Or once again, just a Matarasu. Like, that's simple. You know what I mean? It really is. It is what it is, bro.
Brought up the fact that, like, the Nine Tails might be able to roar.
And also, if it's end of the war EMS Sasuke where he has perfect Susanoo as well, yeah, come on, bro. Like,
that's forming might get blown around the village as well. Like, that's an interesting take. But he does have some options with the Nine Tails. He also, you could maybe argue he might be able to rip the control from Obito with his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. That might be a little bit of a stretch, but it could be a possibility as well.
No, not a stretch.
The problem is that this Sasuke, just like a lot of these characters,
definitely a high possibility.
Really, like, capable of dealing with the surprise attack from Obito. He's not really that tier above to deal with Obito at this point. In my opinion, the only time you could really say, like, you could argue for this Sasuke is, like, when he's fighting against Jubito, acclimating to that point, and after he ditches, like, Jugo and like the Naruto's chakra, like, uses, like, the perfect Susanoo. If you think he has that, like, that Sasuke that doesn't really fight anybody after the fact, that's the only version, like able to be discussed here or can be talked about. But it doesn't help that Obito also hard counters the Susanoo.
But if it's beginning early EMS Sasuke, he might get Kamui right there. I'm gonna be honest. He might more likely be get Kamui. I don't think he doesn't have Flying Raijin to get out of jail free card. You know what I mean? He probably gets Kamui. But you could also argue that he could activate Susanoo or Matarasu around him, and then that would basically stop Obito from doing the Kamui. You know what I mean? Technically no. Yeah, no. Matarasu wouldn't be effective because literally, that'd be a good defense countermeasure, but that wouldn't be effective because he would still just Kamui him, but then Kamui the flames away. You know what I mean? So if Sasuke utilizes his Susanoo to, like, force him to stop sucking with Kamui, you know, like, to try to hit him or something, I could see that, like, stopping Obito, and then basically he, like, you know, whatever. But then again, you could also argue where if Obito's just faster, you know what I mean, and before he gets hit by the Susanoo hit or whatever, that basically he still gets Kamui, because, like, Kamui, it'll just pull whatever he's pulling. I mean, so meaning the Susanoo will be going into the Kamui as well, you know, like, So, like, it's really, really interesting. Like, that's a weird situation, but at the same time, like, it's, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, if I really, really had to pick who's more than likely taking it, I'd probably say OBITO still. You know what I mean? But then again, well, now I'm thinking about it. Because Sasuke does have a Mataratsu and everything, and we see Arjumask OBITO getting fucking blitzed by a Mataratsu. So, like, I'll be honest, you could, alright, if it's beginning EMS Sasuke, you could argue either way. But if it's end of the war EMS Sasuke, I think he beats Obito. I really do think that. He deals with the Nine Tails and he beats Obito. I think the best argument for early EMS Sasuke against Obito is just a Mataratsu combo. I think a Mataratsu would be fast enough to hit Obito before he could combo, and then Obito's fucked. You know what I mean? Just like what happened when he saw, MS Sasuke. So that's kind of what I'll say.
Which is Sasuke's main offense at this point. He's able to just combo
exactly.
it through it. A lot of Sasuke, he's gonna just like pull up, start shooting arrows. None of it's gonna really work. So I actually do think that Sasuke would perform quite well against the Nine Tails. I think he does have some options he could do against it. It's just, again, like, he doesn't really have too much for Obito himself. And it's like, we do see when you're getting comboed, you can't really like budge your way out of it. Like, you can't really just escape it. It's not like Kakashi's combo at the beginning of Shippuden where you can like force your way out of it. It's just not the case. And again, the only Sasuke you could argue is like the
it's a fucking vacuum
version, which is not the one we're using. We're using the one that like gave that declaration. That Sasuke still needs to adapt. And even with that Sasuke, it's debatable. It's not even as clear cut.
Yeah.
Just again, because of the clear counter. What do you got to add to that?
I think that there's probably a good chance that he could take out the Nine Tails with a Amaterasu, because even if the Nine Tails somehow like blows it away or whatever, he has Kagetsuchi to redirect those flames, because any flames that are on the battlefield, Sasuke could just move with Kagetsuchi. So I think that the Nine Tails just doesn't really have like an answer for that. Like, I guess while he's on fire, he could shoot a Biju bomb, and that would blow up any defense that Sasuke can manifest. But like, aside from that, I think he's actually like good, just because. And it's not like Sasuke's stronger than the Nine Tails. It's just that Amaterasu is crazy. It's you know, like, it's a Mangekyo Sharingan ability. And most of the time when Sasuke uses it, it's against people who just have ways of like maneuvering around it or nullifying it. Like, for example, Nagato was able to like absorb it against Itachi. Madara was able to like take off his armor when it got put on him. Like the Raikage straight up cut off his arm to stop it from killing him. Like,
find Peter Parker.
What's the thing on his hand?
Find Peter Parker.
That type of thing. So I think that like the Nine Tails would probably go down, because like the only time we see a Amaterasu like truly connect with somebody, they just like the Eight Tails just straight up gets cooked by it.
He's done.
Yeah.
It's over. Yeah.
It would take Obito showing up and like sucking away the flames of Amaterasu, which would leave him open to getting attacked by Sasuke. So I think he would just have to leave it. But like you said, there's just no way that Sasuke would be fast enough to hit Obito or stop himself from getting pulled into Kamui.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Sasuke would be able to hit Obito. Like, he's not that like fat. You know what I mean? Like, he's shown to be like to either be equal or relative to KCM1 Naruto. You know what I mean? Which is basically, Minato's level speed and shit and things like that. So like, you have that, but so like, it's like, could he be able to do it? Maybe, but like, maybe if he's doing like a body flick or something, I don't know. But yeah, when it comes down to it, I think Sasuke's best win con is using Susanoo attacks, fighting accordingly, whatever, and then basically timing an Amaterasu in close range and then hitting his ass. You know what I mean? I think that's how Sasuke would do it. You know what I mean? Or using body flicker and Amaterasu. If he does that, I can see Sasuke pulling it off, But if it's just straight up like hand to hand, if he's gonna like straight up beat up Obito or like be faster, I don't know about all that one. I don't know, but you know what I mean? Like, that's a little like or seeing him do a body flicker and then tag him with a Chidori. I don't know about all that either, So like, maybe because of the KCM1 scaling, whether if you think it's relative or equal, but like it's interesting. So like, the best win cons is either body flicker, Chidori, or fighting a bunch of attacks, whatever you name it, and then Amaterasu in close range. I think that is the best way for it to happen, because once again, we literally see a stronger Obito get blitzed by it. And that's just kind of what you're working with, you know what I mean? Or, once again, he just loses and gets Kamui. Now, when it comes to Obito doing in character of attacking the Hokage from behind, would Sasuke get Kame right there and then? It's interesting. It's either he does, or what's it called? His Susanoo can save the day. It's one of the two. That's the only way. You know what I mean? If you don't think the Susanoo could save Sasuke before he's Kame, then he just loses. I'm sorry. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like, he doesn't have Flying Raijin to escape that. Like, Body Flicker cannot allow you to escape that. Only Flying Raijin. You know, so it is what it is. But it's a really interesting matchup.
So I think that, yeah, like you said, that's just where the conversation ends. It would be a cool fight to watch, but Obito would pack him up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree. Obito is just pretty
and then another thing I forgot to mention, early EMS Sasuke is, like, shown to be, like, still not even on Itachi's level yet. Like he's, like, relative in some regard, but, like, Itachi still bitches him by hitting his Susanoo way and shit, you name it, like, clearly being superior and whatnot. So it's like, even Itachi is more superior than that Sasuke as an Edo, and then he's also backpacking in the fight against Sage Kabuto. So it kind of just comes to the point where it's like Sasuke's approaching that level, but he's not really on it, which in my opinion would more solidify that he's relative to it, not actually equal to it, you know what I mean, or above. So like that's kind of what you're working with. You know what I mean? So like that's what it's hard with Sasuke because he kind of like fluctuates as with his power, you know, like. So you could basically argue that, like, the Sasuke that's with KCM Naruto, like, fighting along him is, like, arguably a stronger Sasuke and not the same one we see in the beginning fighting with Itachi. You know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot of weirdness with it. So if we're even talking about, like, the beginning Sasuke, like, way early in the war arc, he probably just straight up loses. His best win con is Amaterasu. But when it comes to his first interaction with Kame, he probably just loses. I'm sorry, you know? When it comes to the Sasuke that's more comparable to KCM Naruto later in the war, then, you know, you could definitely argue for it. You know, whether if it's Chidori, Amaterasu, whatever. If it's the Sasuke or perfect Susanoo, I think he will take it no matter what. I really do. I do think so.
Next up, we have Fugaku. So this one will probably be short because Fugaku probably has a good counter to Obito's control of the Nine Tails because, like, the way people talk about him, he's called Wicked Eye, and in the novel he seems pretty confident that he could tame the Nine Tails as well.
Yeah.
So maybe he would be able to wrestle Obito's control away from him.
Yep.
I'm fine with granting him that for this. He would just steal the Nine Tails and then fight Obito. The problem is that Fugaku's apparently, like, weaker than Shisui in the novel, and Shisui loses to Danzo. So, like, granted, you know, Shisui does get surprise attacked by poison by the bugs and stuff, but he can't even react with Koto Amatsukami in time. So, like, I don't know. Like, maybe Shisui is actually just crazy and, like that guy, but it's like base Danzo. I don't know. And if you use certain anime filler or like the version of the events from Storm Revolution, it's specifically the anime filler version though. Danzo just bullies him, man.
Oh my god,
it's so bad. He actually like beats him up. So it depends on.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just not really the problem with Shisui is it's not fair. He's a very kind-hearted ninja. He's like Naruto. You know what I mean? He's a fucking pussy. You know, he's a bitch. And he wasn't trying to kill anyone the whole time. He was holding back the whole time, you know, being suppressed. And the main reason, because it's like high-tension conflict between Uchiha and the Konoha, and he's not trying to cause an incident to where things could escalate. So he's, like, basically being put in a position where, like, he can't kill whatever, blah, blah. Now, still not an excuse, because you don't have to kill. You could just incapacitate or knock out, right? That's fine, right? You know what I mean? So he could just do that. But no matter what, when it really comes down to it, Shisui is just a fucking idiot. I think he's just very dumb. And when it comes to the Danzo, it's just not fair. He was completely off guard, and like he just didn't expect Izanagi. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Like, is an excuse? No, many characters can still react to off guard attacks or surprise attacks, but you know, it's at the end of the day, it wasn't like a straight up loss, like a normal loss. Like in a 1v1 situation, Danzo cannot beat him. We literally see in all illustrations when Danzo fights him in the anime, he gets no diffed. When Danzo fights him in the game, they're both huffing and puffing, and Danzo says, "You really do have the reputation of the strongest Uchiha," and then has to cheat and bullshit and then take his eye. Like in every iteration or whatever or scenario, Danzo has to cheat in order to beat Shisui, along with Shisui not being bloodlusted or going all out to kill or whatever you name it. he also has Susanoo, and he never does Susanoo to kill any of them, whatever, blah, blah. Instead, he only does it in the end to try to do better in protecting himself, you know? So it's really... Shishui is a very hard character to gauge, unfortunately. It's really weird when it comes to him. And then not only that, like, his body flicker is fucking insane. He has technically the best body flicker showings out of anyone. He's able to create after images. No one else could do that. So... You know, he's a very interesting character, but unfortunately it's similar to Tobirama. There's just a lot we don't really know definitively, you know, so it's just more possibility arguments and shit. I will say this. I feel like a lot of people shit on him and a lot of people are dishonest when it comes to scaling him, or they just don't know, you know, they don't mean it, but, you know, because it does look really, really bad on how Danzo bitches him. And no matter what, I'll be the first one to admit it. Out of any character in Naruto, Shishui has the worst L you could possibly receive. In any fucking way, I'm sorry. I've seen many L's in Naruto, and Shishui has the worst. How he got fucking beat up. Like, that's bad, bro. Especially if it's anime, you know? So, it is what it is. And for what Swag said, for, like, where he's not even able to react or use Kodo, that's just blatantly not even correct. Shishui was able to normal Genjutsu and no diff Danzo instantaneous with no issues. He could definitely use Kodo and use Mangekyo. And better yet, in the novel, and Swag says the novels are canon and approves them, like, he has, like, an insane activization time. It's insane. Like, if you thought the picosecond shit was ridiculous with Itachi, Shishui shit is even more ridiculous of how, like, fast it is, you know? So, when it comes to how fast he can activate and use the technique, whatever you name it, I don't know about all of that, saying that he can't even use it against Danzo. That's silly. He wanted to use Kodo Matsukame against the Uchiha clan, not against fucking Danzo and Anbu people, you know? So, overall, that's my response to all of that. But when it comes to comparing Fugaku and whatever you name it, blah, blah, and Shishui was known to be the strongest, which would include Fugaku at the time too, I see what they're getting at, connecting dots, whatever, and under that logic, it's perfectly fine and it makes sense, you know? When it comes down to it, you know, like... Is Fugaku being able to beat Obito? Unfortunately, he's like Tobirama, but even worse, we don't have shit for the guy. We don't know his abilities. We don't know his fucking Susanoo color. We don't know goddamn fucking shit. You know what I mean? We don't know nothing. Like, you know, like, he had like a reputation of being feared among nations, you know, Wicked Eye, you name it. It's like similar to Minato and shit like that. I don't know if he had a run in side order. I don't remember that. I know Shishui and Minato do. But I don't know if Fugaku had that. But either way, I do know he was feared among nations. He clearly has Mangekyo, can control the Nine Tails. Obviously would have a Susanoo as well. So, like, and that's all we know. We just don't really know. You know what I mean? Like, that's the fucking problem with Fugaku. Bare minimum, we do know that Itachi even says it's going to be a tough fight fighting against his father, like, to the death. You know what I mean? So you could establish some form of scaling with that, of Fugaku scaling to MS Itachi. Okay, and if you want to take all that, then there you go. Now you get into it. Who do you think wins? But, like, there's ways to argue for Fugaku to do it and pull it off, but it's just because we don't really know that much with him. And if I had to pick for transparency reasons, I would still lean towards Obito. You could argue for Fugaku, but probably would still be in Obito's favor. So,
which version of Shisui you want to use, but if you think Shisui is some crazy, like, fastest in the verse level character, which he's definitely not, but if you think that he's, like, way above where he is and he only lost to Danzo because of the surprise attack.
I'm gonna be real. The man had to go because of plot progression. It's plot convenience. It's just like the Sukuna and Gojo shit. It has to fucking happen. I mean, like, because let's be real. If that was anybody else, the same shit would happen. Like, then we have Sasuke, and conveniently, he already has Susanoo still on, and Danzo decides to run his fucking mouth and say, hey, I'm still here, bitch. While with Shishui, he doesn't say a fucking peep, you know, nothing, and attacks him, whatever, and Shishui doesn't have a Susanoo on. So, it's like, unfortunately, it's due to plot convenience and progression. It's, you know, and also due to Shishui's in character because he's an idiot. Blah, blah, the whole not. Like, at the end of the day, it's really just not a fair writing and showing for Shishui. It really isn't at all. If you analyze Shishui overall, he's actually very, very strong. He's very, very fucking strong, okay? He has Mangekyo, he has Susanoo, he has the best body flicker, you name it. Was considered the strongest Uchiha, whatever, out of all of them. You can connect all those dots, especially if we're talking about Itachi and all of that, you name it, and then corresponding Itachi to Obito, yada yada yada. Overall, you could definitely be able to prove and argue why Shisui is very, very strong and it's a threat too. But it is what it is. He's just a weird character. And unfortunately, that's why I wanted either Sakamo Hatake or Shisui to actually have a one-shot manga and not Minotaur and all these other fucking people, because we would have got more from these characters. Even for Gaku. I wanted either Fugaku, Shisui, or Sakamo. That's who we should have got more from. But unfortunately, we don't. And unfortunately, since we have only what we have, that's why the community thinks the way they do, or is the way it is, or that's why Shisui just gets fucking shit on, you know? So
then it's kind of hard to put a ceiling on Fugaku. If you take that anime filler into consideration, it's a completely different story. But I'd say that, like, Fugaku's just feetless, so it's kind of weird to, like, give him the benefit of the doubt and be like, yeah, he'd be able to beat Obito, he'd be able to stop himself from being pulled into this alternate
and that's another thing. I disagree with that with Swag, what he said again. In all the examples, it's all the same. When Shisui loses his eye, it's when it's during an unfair moment. In the anime, he's just completely off guard, and he had no idea that Danzo was still a threat to him, and he literally, like, completely subdued him, had him under a genjutsu, so he thought he was perfectly in the safe zone. And then out of nowhere, Danzo reappears right in front of him. And to be fair, you could still argue against Shisui and be like, he still has precog, whatever, because his Sharingan was still on. You know, but it's like, if that happens, if you're just completely caught off guard and someone's right there in your fucking face, obviously the time interval is going to be way more smaller for you to react accordingly and to prevent, you know, the attack. So clearly that provides relativity, right? And that's basically it. But Danzo had to do that in order to even land a successful attack. Once again, if Shisui had a Susanoo on already, or was bloodless or whatever, blah, blah, Danzo would have been fucking dead, or it would have been like 5 Kage Summit Sasuke all over again, and Shisui would just be shitting on the fucking guy. You know what I mean? Like, over and over. So it's like, I don't agree with that at all. In every illustration, the novels, like the novel and the game, okay, even the manga's implication that he just lost an eye to Danzo, right? Like, it all shows that Danzo had to be a bitch to be able to deal with Shisui, okay? He didn't deal with him in a legitimate regard. In the anime, it's the same exact shit. It's not legitimate. It wasn't fair. It is what it is, you know?
Yeah, no.
Obito's Mangekyo Sharingan.
It's just, it's not indicative. And like you said, even if you want to go off like the anime filler, right? The fact that Shisui couldn't react to Izanagi, which, to be fair, like Sasuke didn't sense it, or like Kerin couldn't sense it when they're fighting as well. Like, maybe you argue that. But that all that displays is that these types of surprise attacks are still effective against Mangekyo Sharingan users, and is very consistent with like this type of strength in the verse at this time. That's all that means. So, you know, it's not even like to throw a stray at Shisui. It's just that, like, you know, him being stronger than Fugaku, and then, like, you know, the way these events play out, it also doesn't help that Fugaku literally does nothing at all.
And not only that, what I will say was really bad for Shisui is, like, let's say we even threw Shisui in this bitch. If Obito does Izanagi, bro, he's Kamui then. You know what I mean? Like,
fights. That makes this very hard to determine. And it's hard to give him like the benefit of the doubt. So we're being generous with the Nine Tails, but against Obito, you just have to make too many leaps and bounds, in my opinion, to give him that.
Now, the final Hokage candidate that we are going to feature here before the end of the video is Kiba. This is also stretching the definition of candidate, because, you know, he just said that he was going to be Hokage. Especially with his one shadow clone, I don't really see what Obito or the Nine Tails, I don't see what they're supposed to do about him when he makes the three-headed dog.
They
There's no shot they're doing Kiba, bro.
They don't know about like rotating Fang over Fang. The thing you need to understand is that, like, this technique is not stoppable. It was only stopped in the series too many times. It was stopped actually consistently. So you got to understand this is a very strong technique. He's gonna shred right through the Nine Tails hide. He's
it's just gonna like, they're gonna like carry and like absorb the power of the tailed beast bomb when the Nine Tails shoots it at them. Like, Kiba's gonna be like, let's go, Akamaru. They're gonna drill into the tailed beast bomb and like absorb its power, and then just kill Kurama immediately. And if Obito is foolish enough not to immediately retreat, he's going to try to pull them into Kamui. And maybe like Akamaru will like pee on him or something. Yeah. But Like, I mean, there's just too many wing cons for Kiba and none for Obito. I mean, like, I don't see what, because, you know, he puts Kiba in Kamui, then Kiba just comes out, then, like, then what, you know?
I think, like, people need to understand that, like, Obito is getting peed on metaphorically and physically at this point. It's just, it's a different level of disrespect at this point. He's actually going to smell him from the Kamui dimension. So, and if you're wondering where, like, some of these feats are coming from, they're from the novel. You wouldn't have read them. Don't worry about the novel.
Well, also, you know, there's also
Kiba's so fucking ass, dude. That man is so ass.
Hinata, who was hopelessly in love with Naruto, supported Kiba's bid for Hokage, which would scale him above Naruto, who we did give the edge to. So I think that is pretty conclusive there. So the only people featured in the video who got the W were Hashirama, Naruto, and Kiba.
Yeah.
Let us know anything that you'd like to see us do like this again in the future. Let us know if you disagree with any of our picks. I think that Tobirama is probably going to be the most controversial one, like I said. But maybe some of you will like really want to insist that like Jiraiya would be able to do it or something. I don't know.
No, it's Tobirama. Like, the thing is, like, I understand why people would say that. Like, he's very strong and he's very relevant here. It's just a simple matter of arsenals. That's all it is. It's just one of those things, which is why, like, you know, it's Naruto. There's different characters, different arsenals. Like, this stuff can be talked about. So, yeah. And then, you know, Hashirama, Naruto, Kiba, all speak for themselves.
Yep. So, if you guys haven't already, go check out TG's channel, Thunder God. I will leave a link to it in the description. If you're new here, subscribe to the channel. I post a lot of Naruto.
Alright, so that's basically it. We'll like the video. It was a go to video. Incredible overall. What's it called? Really good. My thoughts, because I already know this reaction was already as long as it is. I didn't want to do several parts, so that's why I just did it all in one. Really good video. There were some moments where I had some disagreements or whatever, or I played devil's advocate, but other than that, it was really good overall. A minus, I mean, if I'm being picky, A plus. I'm just saying, you know, like, fuck it, you know. So really good video. You know, that's just kind of what you have. I feel like the most contentious is definitely EMS Sasuke. Fugaku in a way, you know, but you know, that's just that. But I think EMS Sasuke and Fugaku is really interesting. Very interesting. And then also, like, now that I'm thinking about it, they only said Hashirama and Naruto. What about fucking Kakashi, bro? You know what I mean? Like, what? If we're including the novel Kakashi shit, he also wins. So no matter what, like, that's basically what I have. I mean, I'm in total agreement for there certain points I was like, huh? You know what I mean? But either way, it was a very great video. Really good. So no matter what, you guys on the vibes, make sure to give all the love and support to the GOATs, TG, and Thunder God, and Swagkage. And as always, guys, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like. Comment your thoughts down below. What do you think overall? You know what I mean? You let me know what you think. I'll be honest, I might eventually even do a similar video eventually in the future of all the Hokages against Obito. And then I'll just also throw my shit in there for shits and giggles, like for bonus rounds or whatever too. Be kind of similar, but it'll be slightly different. You know, just make it more creative in a way, because you know, obviously they've all beat me to it at this point. But you know, that's basically it. So as always, guys, comment, subscribe for more content on the channel, especially if you want Naruto content. Batman out. Peace.